Hello. Happy hump day. It's Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show. Otherwise, just TMI for short, because obviously we bring you way too much information. We're live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So please be sure to hit the like, the subscribe, the follow, the thumbs up, the... I'm trying to hit all of the things. Smash all the buttons.
The hokey pokey.
Just,
because that is
what
that
cat, the cat meme? It is. You know that cat meme of the cat like banging away at the keyboard? Just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does. It helps the show. It really does. So on today's show, we're going to talk about this Trump good moral character test for people trying to become U.S. citizens. Ted, I think there's a lot to be had there. Who defines the good moral character before you can take the oath to become a U.S.
The most
citizen?
moral man in the United States, the Donster.
So Donald Trump, you think all the dictates come directly from the Donald himself, or is there like some panel in robes that like come out with tablets? And with tablets, I mean like iPads, not like Moses tablets.
Right.
Like they type it in. But yeah, so there's actually this new thing happening with the Trump administration that says you have to go through a moral character test. So we'll tell you as much as we know about it so far, which I think is a moving target. Nobody really actually knows, but we'll tell you what we know so far. And then there's a weird study that came out. So you guys probably already heard, I like to talk about butt stuff, but don't be nasty. I'm talking about it in the medical sense. I'm a big like colonoscopy person. Like I have this like fear because, I had like poop problems.
Of colonoscopies or of ass cancer?
Of like butthole cancer. And just because it's like this
one of my best
killer,
friends recently died of butthole cancer.
Oh, I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But it's on the rise among people under the age of 50, and we've covered this on the show before. But this bizarre new study from this one doctor that decided to do it and present his findings at the latest butt doctor conference shows that people that are like way too fit, that are like super marathoners and like these like ultra fit people, they had a higher likelihood, no, I shouldn't say likelihood, higher percentage of them as a group of ultra fit people, higher percentage of them versus us regular schmoes had a higher incidence rate of colon cancer.
Yep.
Which is bizarre to me.
I have a theory. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
I have an actual theory about.
Okay, we'll get into that.
Okay.
And then the story of autistic mice, which is also bizarre because obviously autism is way, way up here in the US. It's something like 1 in 30 or 1 in 35 kids or something nowadays is diagnosed with autism. And this new study about autistic mice and obesity. So like the opposite. If you're too fit, you're going to get colon cancer. If you're not fit enough, I guess your kids will be autistic. We'll tell you what that is. And then last but not least, we gotta poke some fun at the Democratic Party for severely lagging in voter registration.
I don't know if
And
fun is really what's called for
poking
here.
fun at them.
It's more of a wake. But
I'm
yeah,
yeah, it's a wake. Yeah, but if I'm happy to dance on their graves because they danced on ours. So it was in particular people within the Democratic establishment that hated RT, that hated Sputnik, that hated they hated anything that spoke outside their narrative. And so I I say,
they beat
oh
us
well,
up. They sister soldiered us is what they did to us. Right? They just
no,
like picked. They're
I'm not
like, oh,
crying for
let's
them.
beat up these. Like they bullied us. They were like, let's go after these people for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, for I guess having a job that was somehow tied to Russians, and Russians are evil to that party. Not only that party, but primarily that party. Well,
Manila, can you get closer to your mic? You're a little bit fading out there.
I don't feel bad for them, Ted. They're behind on voter registration,
Oh, I don't feel bad for them either.
massively,
I don't know. Yeah,
massively.
they're in real
Well,
trouble, and we'll get into the details there.
they deserve it. They
Okay.
deserve it. That's all I got to say. All right. So with that, let's jump into it. Make sure you hit all those likes and all the buttons, or as Scary Girl in Rumble likes to say, that she likes to say, like that smash button. All right, here we go. All right, I guess I'm doing the first story, Ted.
You are.
So the Trump administration, this is the moral character thing. Because Ted, I wonder, just top line thoughts real quick before I get into it.
Mhm.
So Ted and I are by birth American citizens, right? With this new Trump moral clause thing, would we, if we weren't born here, Ted,
And we were applying
would
to
we,
come here. Would we pass?
and we would they allow us citizenship because
Well,
of
I'm going to
our
say probably
political
not
views?
me, but we'll get into that.
I don't know.
I mean,
But
literally, Manila, I wrote a book, a well-received book, a book that sold well, called The Anti-American Manifesto. And they're looking for people who are anti-American. I imagine that would be a difficult interview with a member of our glorious Customs and Border Enforcement officers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's how it goes. The Trump administration is introducing more stringent criteria for assessing good moral character in the U.S. citizenship applications, including screening for anti-American views. The policy issued in a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, otherwise known as USCIS, in a memo on Friday that you guys can go see for yourself. This this memo was released Friday, directs the agency to conduct a more comprehensive and holistic assessment of applicants' good moral character, including by accounting for applicants' positive attributes and not simply the absence of misconduct. Like, Ted, are positive attributes like blonde hair, blue eyes,
I would think
big
so.
boobs, big booty? Do they like big booty? Is that a good positive attribute?
I like big butts, and I cannot lie, is the new official policy of the United States government.
I don't know what these attributes are.
By the way, it should be noted. It should be noted. In fairness, I took note of the fact that it would, it's expanding, a more comprehensive. So they do this now. They previously do this now. When my mother applied to become a U.S. My mother became a U.S. citizen through she married my dad, and he was American. That's how she came here. She had a green card. During the bicentennial year of 1976, she became a U.S. citizen. As well, there was a huge surge of applications, and the government encouraged a lot of people to get naturalized that year because it was the bicentennial. And in fact, her certificate had the bicentennial seal on it. Very cool. Anyway, when she applied, two G-men, FBI agents in skinny ties and skinny lapels, showed up in Kettering, Ohio, and they went and talked to my mom's neighbors, including poor Libby Grizel, who I remember very well because, first of all, she had a 28-year-old cat, which is unusual.
Okay.
And also she had a fondness for, well, one night she came home a little loaded and she drove into the garage and out into the backyard, but there was a wall in the way. But anyway,
Okay.
she went and
Fun
interviewed
cat lady neighbor.
she interviewed Libby, and she wanted, and they interviewed Libby, and they asked all about my mom, like, oh, is she a lesbian? How do you ever see strange cars just, parked overnight?
What?
Like, do dudes come and spend the night at her
Is your
house?
mom a hoe? That was the
Yeah,
question.
is she a skank? Is she a hoe bag? And so, yeah, and so they, of course, the neighbors told my mom that my mom was, unfortunately, had a very boring life at that time, and so they didn't find anything. But like I imagine that was a standard has been some
Especially
kind
for
of
that era.
investigation has been a standard procedure for a long time.
Well,
They
yes,
look
but
into you. They check.
there's
I'm sure
always
now it's all
I
digital.
don't know.
They check your criminal
Yeah, I
record.
don't think I think they're gonna look at your Twitter and your
They don't have
Facebook and
the
all that.
personnel to
So
send people out
yeah.
to Ohio to look at stuff like that. But yeah,
So USCIS on Tuesday said it would also screen for anti-Americanism and in particular anti-Semitic ideologies, including on social media when considering immigration applications both for prospective citizens and for visa applicants. Quote, America's benefits should not be given to those who despise the country and promote anti-American ideologies. USCIS chief spokesperson Matthew Trageser said on Tuesday,
couldn't you
quote,
be pro-American and anti-Semitic, or couldn't you be not anti-Semitic but anti-American? It's so confusing.
yeah, this is like a mishmash. Okay, so USCIS is committed to implementing policies and procedures that root out anti-Americanism and supporting the enforcement of rigorous screening and vetting measures to the fullest extent possible, he says. Immigration benefits, including to live and work in the United States, remain a privilege, not a right. That's what he said. Haha, that's what he said. The latest change might ring alarm bells for critics who have raised concerns about the Trump administration appearing to inject more subjectivity and political bias into U.S. immigration. Quote, they're trying to increase the grounds for denial of U.S. citizenship by kind of torturing the definition of good moral character to encompass extremely harmless behavior, says Doug Rand, a former senior USCIS official who worked under the Biden administration. The quote, good moral character requirement for naturalization applicants has long been satisfied by the absence of certain criminal offenses or disqualifying conduct. These include permanent bars like murder, aggravated felonies, and
Reasonable.
genocide.
Reasonable.
That's actually written. This is actually written in here. Like
Yeah.
if you're a genocidal maniac, like we don't want to give you citizenship. So that was a really long
Sorry, BB.
standing.
Sorry, BB.
Right. You can't have that, BB. So those are pre-existing conditions that we had if you wanted to become a US citizen, or conditional bars like having multiple convictions of DUI, right? So like, yeah, one or two DUIs, okay. But dude, three,
Well, how about one
I draw the
genocide,
line,
but
dude.
not two genocides?
Yeah, one genocide, I don't know, maybe two, okay. For which the applicant must show that they have rehabilitated themselves, Ted. So
Like, I'm
it's
not
possible you can
genociding or drinking while driving anymore.
now.
Probably.
I don't do that now. I did that, in my
I'm
middle
not doing
age.
it this morning.
So, can I
Maybe this
please become a US
afternoon.
citizen?
That could change.
So, for right now, can I please become a US citizen? That's basically like this moving
By the
target.
way, how anti-American would someone be if they're applying for American citizenship?
I don't.
Just
I that
wondering what
that's
kind of I mean, if I were
I don't know.
anti-football, why would I attend a football game? I just don't
Yeah,
understand.
I don't know.
Right.
Evaluating good moral character will now involve, quote, more than a cursory mechanical review focused on the absence of wrongdoing, the memo says. Instead, an applicant must demonstrate that their character is, quote, commensurate with the standards of average citizens of the community in which the alien resides.
And do they
Officers
mean
are
do they look at the regional thing? Like, for
right,
example,
like
if you live in Connecticut, you have to be an uptight wasp. And
that's right.
if
If
you
you're
live
in
in
LA, if you're in LA
Mhm.
and like under the age of 50, you need a face tattoo.
Right, and you have to
That's
drive a really cool car
I mean, that's just a thing in
with
LA.
fuzzy dice. They'll
It's
check you
a
out.
thing.
You
It's
know,
a
oh,
thing in
another
Los
thing they used to
Angeles.
check you out
Face
back in the
tattoo.
day. They also asked if my mom was a communist. So they wanted to know lesbo, hobag, commie.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and it says officers are instructed to take a holistic approach and consider positive attributes such as sustained community involvement and contributions in the US, family caregiving and ties here in the US,
Those things
educational
don't seem to
attainment.
prevent anyone from being deported, though. Just
No,
saying.
but to get
Anyway,
citizenship,
yeah.
educational attainment, okay, stable and legal employment history and other achievements. They don't define what that is. Length of lawful
Maybe
residence
you
here
could
in
be
the
the
US.
if you're the pickleball champion of your neighborhood.
I mean, it's possible.
Mhm.
It's an achievement. And compliance with tax obligations here in the US. So if you pay taxes, USCIS officers are also instructed to consider disqualifying applicants on the status of not just the permanent and conditional bars, but also what they say, quote, any other acts that are contrary to the average behavior of citizens in the jurisdiction where the alien resides, even if those acts are technically lawful.
So literally, they're
Okay.
trying to decide whether you'd be an appropriate citizen of your
Your neighborhood.
neighborhood. So, like for example, in my neighborhood, where there are no registered Republicans, probably no one who would vote Republican should be naturalized to live here.
Right.
And
Because
similarly,
your
like
neighborhood is
if
very,
you live in
very
Vernon, New Jersey,
Zoran
near the former site of Action Park,
Mamdani.
and you should not be allowed to live there unless you have a fondness for water slides.
So,
You have to
yeah,
fit
like,
in where you're living. I mean, I thought you had to. It's one thing for them to say you should fit into the United States, which would still
no,
be
but
kind
the
of
language.
pushing it. But like
Yeah, the
you have to
language
live
is
into your
very specific
specific
here.
community. Yeah, your specific.
That's it really
But
says
people
that.
move, right?
Commensurate with the
Let's
standards
say you don't
of
fit.
the community
Let's say you're
that the
currently
alien
you
resides.
apply for naturalization. You live in L.A. and okay, you don't want to drive your lowrider, but you're
That's
like,
right. I
but
I
you
don't like that.
so instead you'd rather move to East Texas and live in the bayou. Well then, and you'd fit in the bayou lands because you came from a bayou type society before. You love whatever bayou people do, and in their bayou way,
That's
catching
this is
fish, drinking.
so here's Robbie says he has thoughts, of course, because it's an
Shocking,
immigration story. Robbie
shocking.
has thoughts.
Well, I can tell you right now, I would be disqualified if I was trying to immigrate here.
Educational
And
attainment.
On what grounds?
well, a few things. One, educational attainment.
Mhm.
Like I've never
Okay.
been to college.
Okay.
I'm one of those uneducated people that Trump loves. So I'm automatically disqualified there. Uh, Second, I'm a Christian fundamentalist. I oppose homosexuality. I oppose abortion.
But you
I'm
fit into your community.
I'm by
But yeah,
definition I'm by definition I'm a bigot.
I mean,
However,
I've seen all those
wait,
Jesus
that's by
signs
the
out
Biden
yonder.
administration. This is now the Trump administration, and you live in Montana, which is a red state.
but I'm also anti-Semitic because I oppose Israel. So there it
Right,
is.
good
Now,
point.
now you
And they
see
do
that.
state that.
Well, the
They do
problem
Of
is
state
course.
that
that.
many of us Americans are now anti-Semitic.
Right.
Israel has only a 31% approval rating in the U.S.,
Right, because
meaning
if you
that
don't support them, then you're
yeah,
against them.
we should
Well,
probably be denaturalized and stripped of our
That's
citizenship and
coming.
expelled.
well, see, I mean,
That's
as an
coming.
American, I have the right to dislike, and I dislike. I also hate people who I choose to hate. That is a choice that I have as
That's
an
right.
American.
That's true, actually.
That's true.
Well, it's freedom
I
of
have the
speech.
right
It's
to
freedom of
like or
thought.
hate what I want.
It's
And you
freedom
have
of
the right
expression.
you have the right to association under the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, I have the right to be friends with a communist, which I am. I have friends. I have the right to be friends with a middle of the road, milk toast, whatever the hell Manila is. And I
Milk
also have
toast,
the
hardly.
She's
and
playing
I,
playing it
yeah,
close to the vest there.
yeah, pretty much. And I also have the right to despise trannies, hate abortion, and
You
despise the
do.
state of Israel.
So wait, let
But
me ask
Trump
you
says I
this
don't.
though.
By the way, whenever
Sure.
you say, back east, when you say tranny, that really usually means transmission.
Car
Transmission.
car trouble. No,
Well, so wait, let me ask you guys this. So
Yeah.
I don't recall, and I'm sure it's probably happened, but I personally don't recall the such prevalence of any presidential administration denaturalizing people like Trump has been. He has removed and stripped the citizenship of many people.
Wait.
Couple-
Really? Who?
Yeah. Like I can't remember their names, but at least like more than half a dozen, like one of them being
Oh,
allowed.
you're right. This is true.
He's
right.
denaturalized them and
Yeah.
then shipped them off to like fucking Sudan or something, South
Yeah.
Sudan. This
Yeah.
is no joke. Like and these are people.
Denaturalization is a true sign of fascism. I mean,
Does
like,
it?
if
Is that
you're
normal?
naturalized as a French citizen, for example, it can never be taken away from you for any reason. You can kill the president.
But do you guys remember this happening with any other president? I don't remember. I'm sure it has, but I don't remember it happening.
A sign, honestly, in my historical understanding, it's a sign of like a fascist state. For example, French Jews were stripped of their nationality under Vichy before they could be deported because they had to be stripped of their protections under French law before they could be sent to Germany.
I can only think of two presidents,
Dude, I don't think FDR denaturalized any of the Nisei, the Japanese Americans.
Well,
right?
No, they weren't
denaturalized. He put.
I mean, in all but name. I mean, if
he just put them in camps.
I mean, if you put them in
stole their houses and their property and destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was about to say. I mean, no, I mean, sure. I mean, you have a piece of paper that says you're here legally, but if you're in a prison and if you have no property and if it gets stolen, I mean, can we just call a spade here? And the other one would be Abraham Lincoln, because I mean, the dude actually deported citizens, but no due process.
There were a bunch, and Robbie, I bet you know this probably better than I do, but right after the American Revolution, weren't a lot of former loyalists basically forced to flee and due to violence, and their property was confiscated?
Yeah, they're deported to Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
They weren't. Yep. It wasn't like, hey, let's bygones be bygones. The revolution's over. We prevailed.
Like you lost GTFO.
Well, it wasn't even. I mean, it was. It was pretty gnarly.
For their lives, it was kind of like the Nakba.
Oh, they self-deported. No, Ted, it's self-deporting.
Well,
that's
in
the
the
term
South,
now.
Well, in the South, I mean, one thing you got to remember is, God, I can't think of the Tabington, Colonel Tabington. His main force was all loyalists, and they were brutal. I mean, they could have taught the Nazis a few things about waging unrestricted war on civilians. So when the war ended, the ones that didn't flee, they were hung, and their families were shot.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, there's definitely a dark history in this country, to say the least.
There's very little precedent.
There's precedents. But I mean,
very little.
But two of the most famous presidents that there were, though, I mean, was Lincoln, who most people say is second only to George Washington, and FDR, who Democrats lift up as the savior of the nation, both of which took a big steaming crap on social liberties and prosecuted people for committing thought crimes, having unauthorized opinions, stole their livelihood, their properties, and just waged unrestricted war on the Constitution.
That's true.
So Trump, he is in good company here. But the point I'm trying to make is, if
he will earn his spot on Mount Rushmore.
No, very much so. I mean, if we wanted to solve this whole thing, if you just end all immigration, a la Robbie style, there's no moral test required because there'd be no more immigration for like 80 years.
Well, not really, because you'd have no more, because immigration and naturalization are two different things. You still have a bunch
of people
here's
the thing.
who are here legally as permanent residents, and many of whom over time want to become citizens.
But if you can't come here to be able to do that, though, then you rip it up by the root.
Eventually, of course.
No, that's henceforth. But here's the thing. The people that are here legally, that have been here for years and are waiting their turn to go do their naturalization interview, right? Mm-hmm. People are getting nervous because it's no longer like the test, like who was America's name any of the founding fathers, name what comes on a cheeseburger? Like,
What
it's
is the
not
Third
things like that.
Amendment? Right.
Right, like, it's not things
How
like
many?
that anymore.
Yeah.
It's
How many
it's
electoral votes are required to be elected president? Yeah.
right.
That's
It's not stuff like that anymore. The bar is
well,
moving,
not to mention you
and
might
now
show up
I
at
feel like
your naturalization hearing and be arrested by ICE. That's
right,
been happening
because
a lot.
maybe you posted pro-Palestine something, or they just, for whatever reason, and I think what is
That's
not
out of
far off is
nowhere on YouTube is saying
moving
that
this shit.
last year there were 94 denaturalization cases by the Department of
See,
Justice.
last year was under Biden though. Last year,
Yeah, that's that's right.
yeah,
Well,
because
you got
Trump's
to,
only been in power for 7 months. So my concern here is if naturalization processes are not ensconced into law, right?
Last
Then
3 years.
every commander in chief can come in with his administration and decide willy-nilly, okay, I only want, males that are 6 feet tall with brown hair and green eyes
And
and only,
own the first 2 Boomtown Rats albums, and
like, right, you can
also
just make
drive
up
a
anything.
67 Corvette in bright
Right, like,
banana yellow.
it can be anything, and every administration could come in and say whatever. Like, if you're a
Well, they
woman,
always have
you
been,
have to
though. They
have,
always have been.
D-cup boobs. You can just decide whatever
Right. But they
to
always have.
say, okay, you can be an American citizen.
But Manila, they always have. Those things have always been, they've always been subjective. I mean, don't you think it was stupid? I mean, who cares if my mom had been a hoe, or let's say,
Right, like, what's
or
it
she
to
was
the
a commie,
government if your
or she
mom's
was
a
a
hoe?
commie?
Like,
Who gives a shit, right? I mean, but honestly, I mean, in a country, I mean, I love how they try to make being a communist illegal in a country that supposedly has free political expression, right?
well,
we obviously don't, because one of the cardinal sins is being opposed to Israel.
Right.
Well, yeah, that is, they outline that one in particular.
So think about this, and then I'll go away because I know we're going over. One of the litmus tests for being allowed to earn American citizenship is having a favorable opinion about a foreign nation, of
Right.
which you are not even applying for citizenship for, because you
Right.
can't, because it's a fucking racist ethno state. So wrap your mind around that for just two
that's
seconds.
The part that is crazy. Is like, if you have ever participated in BDS, if you say, I
We don't
don't
mean
buy
bondage or
coffee,
discipline or say
if you burn an Israeli, okay, it is actually a crime in this country, in the United States. Fact check me on this. Fact check me, I dare you. It is now against the law to burn an Israeli flag in the United States of America, but you can burn an American flag with no problem at all. We are a conquered and occupied nation.
Well, you also can't burn a trans flag.
What if I use the American flag, I set it on fire, and then accidentally my Israeli flag that's next to it
caught fire? Yeah, but also I also thought I read
because he has all those flags,
that you can't burn the rainbow trans flag now because it is directed towards a protected minority group, and it's considered like threatening. So there's 2 flags that you can't burn: the Israeli flag and the rainbow.
All of his flags.
All of the flags on fire.
Of Vanuatu catches fire. Who knows?
What if it's an American flag with the star rim fan with the tranny triangle? Then is it legal?
And what if it's a flag you thought like the South Africa, the new rainbow flag that kind of looks like the new South Africa flag, and it's sort of like you thought you were burning the South African flag, but you accidentally. It's so complicated, all this flag burning.
So all this speech conversation.
Not to mention the whole EPA thing of all the microplastics that you're releasing into the atmosphere when you burn your flags.
Only burn cotton flags, people. It's a natural fiber.
Yeah. All right.
Or silk. Yes. None of these polyethylene plastic flags. It's bad for the environment.
All right.
So,
Three highly fit athletes, much like me and Robbie in Manila. 2 ultra marathoners and a lady who had run more than a dozen half marathons in a year seemed the least likely candidates for colon cancer, yet by their late 30s and early 40s, all were in fact diagnosed with advanced cases of it. Their oncologist, Timothy Cannon of Innovoshar Cancer in Virginia, wondered if the extreme endurance running might have something to do with it. To find out, he recruited 100 marathon and ultramarathon runners ages 35 to 50 for colonoscopies. The results are startling. Nearly half had polyps, 15% had advanced adenomas, precancerous,
adenomas.
Precancerous growths at a rate 2 to 3 times higher than typical adults their age. Those findings, presented at a national oncology conference, suggest a troubling signal that extreme endurance exercise may in fact be a contributor to colorectal cancer risk. The implications hit home for runners like 47-year-old Laura Linville, who discovered 7 polyps despite her otherwise perfect health. She continues running, but now undergoes regular screenings. Broader concerns come amid a nationwide rise in colon cancer among adults under 50, which prompted medical authorities to lower the recommended age for first colonoscopies from 50 to 45. Experts say that most young colon cancer patients aren't marathoners, and Cannon himself notes the far greater dangers of inactivity and obesity. Still, doctors speculate that long-distance runners may overlook symptoms like bloody stools or cramps, writing them off as runner's trots. Some theorize that repeated intestinal stress, reduced blood flow, or chronic inflammation could drive cellular damage over time. Or, Manila, running a lot is probably bad for you, and I'll get into that because I used to be a runner. The human cost is sobering. One of Cannon's patients, ultramarathoner Josh Wadlington, who once ran 7 marathons in 7 days, dismissed his symptoms until it was too late. Diagnosed in his 30s, he died at the age of 41. For doctors, that case underscores a difficult truth. Even at peak fitness, the body's limits demand respect, vigilance, and timely screening. Manila, I have thoughts. I'm gonna express those thoughts. So, first of all, running is bad for you. In extremis. I mean, it really is.
Extreme running, you mean? Like,
yeah,
not
okay.
cardiovascular exercise.
How did the marathon, 26.2 miles, where did that race come from? It's named after a dude who died, right? It's a Greek thing.
What?
Literally the first guy who ever ran a marathon croaked. He was running in Greece to deliver the news from one city-state to another about who won a battle and who lost the battle. He arrived. It was 26.2 miles away. I think it's Athens and Sparta. I forget which was which. Robbie would know. And
Robbie says Battle of Marathon.
The Battle of Marathon, right? And the point is, the guy shows up, ran to Athens, said, Nikki, like, we won, victory, and died. So the point is, this is a race that's literally, you're replicating the activity of a dude who friggin' died. Okay. So, secondly, it's really, really bad on your feet. It causes plantar fasciitis,
knees.
Fucks up your knees, your shin splints, blah, blah, blah. Swimming, biking, far, far healthier sports if you're looking to burn some calories. The thing about running is it's efficient, right? Like, you just need shorts and a t-shirt, and even a half-hour run's going to burn off some calories. But if you can, don't run on a hard surface. Run on a soft surface like a dirt path if you have access to one, like in a park or something like that.
Right.
That's much, 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 much better. Don't run on the street. It's terrible for you, especially as you get older. So the point is, also, I remember when Lance Armstrong got ass cancer, right? Oh no, he got ball cancer.
Testicular cancer.
He got ball cancer. So like when he got that, I mean, I'm an avid bicyclist, and that's what I do now. And like when I read that, I remember thinking, this makes sense, because you can it's repeated chafing in one spot, right? Your balls, when you bike, get chafed all the time. I would not know. There are cases of people who are nervous and OCD, and there are people who scratch at one place on their body, maybe their knee or on their arm, and they just worry this one part of their skin over and over and over. It agitates the molecules in your skin, and people can and often do develop skin cancer and tumors where they do
in that spot.
Because so in other words, rubbing a spot over and over and over can cause cancer. Okay. Now, this is just something I've observed from reading tons of news stories. So I think what's going on here is that when you're an extreme runner, as someone who used to run a lot, your ass, like your ass stuff is moving, in a way that but it doesn't for most people. Like think about your buttock, your left buttock, right buttock, your anus is in between. It's causing a lot of chafing from like whatever clothes you're wearing. You're sweating, and you're rubbing your anu, right? This is completely unproven, and
But it's a TED theory.
And Grok is not a
It's
doctor,
TED
and Ted is not a doctor, but this is my theory. I think this is about chafing.
Okay, so I have a lot of personal thoughts about this because as somebody that was born with a gastrointestinal issue as a kid, like I always had, my mom tells me all the time, I had a very difficult time pooping as a kid. Like it was just, I was constantly always, I guess there's no other way to describe it than to say constipated, but it wasn't technically constipated. It was just the mechanics of my lower GI were malfunctioning ever since I was born that way. So we didn't learn of that because they didn't really have that diagnosable in the 80s. I didn't figure this out until I was into my 30s. There's something called Hirschsprung disease. It's not even disease, condition. I don't know what they call it. But anyway, it's like something that's very seldomly diagnosed. And my whole adult life, I kept trying to figure out why I couldn't go to the bathroom normally, like all of my friends. Everybody, I would sit there as a kid for hours, sitting there reading like the Nat Geo magazine, just waiting to go in the bathroom just because things didn't work. So anyway, I started getting my first colonoscopy, I think when I was like 33 here in DC, 34, something like that. And it revealed several polyps. The next one, I had to have all the polyps removed, like many. But I started staying awake for those because I realized Katie Couric stayed awake for her colonoscopy. And I thought, well, if that middle-aged bat could do it, then I could stay awake for mine. So I stayed awake for all of them.
Katie Couric's tough. She had to put up with Matt Lauer.
Ugh, well, that's a different story. But so I thought, okay, if I want to see what they're doing. So I'm, watching the doctor lasso off lob off the polyps
That's
in there.
Cool though. That is cool.
It was very bizarre to watch.
It's fun. I
technology. I don't know if it's fun. Ted likes having things removed from his body.
One time, it's so fun. Yeah.
So I'm watching this stuff as it happens, and I'm, part of me is nervous because here I am at that time in my early 30s going, fuck, all these polyps, like they're gonna go off for biopsy and they're gonna tell me I have fucking ass cancer. Like that's what they're gonna tell me. They're gonna tell me I'm dying of colorectal cancer. Surely that's the only thing this can mean is if you're in your 30s. I was a runner, Ted. I was a yogi, Pilates runner. I have bad knees because of that, because like you said, I didn't have access to there's not a lot of grassy or dirt patches in Los Angeles, Ted. So I grew up running on pavement. And
it's not good for you.
That's bad. So I have like no cartilage in my knees. I have the knees of a 70-year-old lady. That is a quote from my rheumatologist. But anyway, that's beside the point. So back to the butthole. The butthole thing, thankfully, comes back, says they're benign, but ever since then, like the pooping process has been cleared out. The obstructions have been cleared out. I mean, I asked the doctor, I was like, they're like the size of dum-dums, Ted. I mean, you guys know these lollipops, the dum-dums. And anyway, I asked the doctor, I was like, can I keep one? Can you give me one? Like, you don't have to biopsy all of them that you took out. Can I take one home and keep it in like formaldehyde, like, science class frog? I just want one as a keepsake. And they're like, no, we can't give you the stuff that we extract from your body. But anyway, so we find out it's non-cancerous. I had to go for a colonoscopy every year to make sure, because those polyps are usually a sign of colorectal cancer. So once I got out of like the 5 checkups in a row of colonoscopy, they felt confident that I didn't and wasn't gonna develop colorectal cancer. So now I'm cleared for every 5 years, which I just had mine a year and a half ago before I found out about the breast cancer. Who'd have thunk? This whole time I thought I was going to have ass cancer. I wound up with breast cancer instead. So that was like a surprise. And the the colorectal surgeon, the gastroenterologist that I see, he was like, I talked to him about this a year and a half ago. He said, "Yeah, we're really seeing a lot of younger people. I'm seeing a lot of patients that are,
Tony wants to know if
in your age
these extreme
group."
runners on a steady diet of soybean oil, processed foods with high sugar content, and other garbage,
Ooh,
along with their quote unquote
I'm
healthy
getting.
foods,
I'll answer that.
wouldn't that cause a problem?
I'll answer that. So my gastro doctor says, he's like, I wouldn't expect someone like you to have a colorectal cancer because, one, you're thin, and it doesn't sound you eat a well-rounded diet, you eat a lot of natural foods. Like, he's like, honestly, he's like, a lot of the younger people that I'm seeing that are diagnosed are very obese. They have a diet high in processed foods,
Well, they're
high in
probably
unnatural
obese
foods.
because of the diet. It's not like the obesity. It's a correlation, not a causation, right?
So he's
Manila,
just
I'm
saying, this
really
is what I'm
sorry, but
seeing.
we have some important breaking news. Producer Robbie just pointed it out. This off Reuters, a widely condemned
Oh,
Israeli settlement plan that would cut across land which Palestinians need for a state has received final approval, according to the Israeli finance minister, Mr. Smotrich. Approval of the E1 project, which would bisect the occupied West Bank, cut it off completely from East Jerusalem, was announced last week, received the final go-ahead from the Defense Ministry Planning Commission today. Restarting the project will further isolate Israel, which has watched some Western allies frustrated by its continuation, planned escalation of the Gaza war, which, by the way, troops are, even as we speak, moving into Gaza again in bigger numbers, announced that they may recognize a Palestinian state at the UN next month. With E1,
yeah.
we're delivering finally on what's been promised for years. Smotrich, who's a far right winger, said the Palestinian state is being erased, not with slogans, but with actions. That's the Israeli government saying this. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry condemned the announcement, saying that the E1 settlement will isolate Palestinian communities even further, undermines a two-state solution. The Germans said that this violates international law. Bibi Netanyahu,
Of course, it contravenes international law.
Has not had any comment whatsoever.
Well,
however,
not surprising, Ted.
So basically, that's where we're at. Yeah. So,
yeah, but that's what Bibi said last week, that the whole of the Knesset has agreed we're going to take over all of Gaza. And now they're like, oh, and also we're going to bisect the West Bank, and we're going to start immediately building settlements.
The West Bank's already been chopped up into cantonments. I mean, it's in little bits and pieces if you look at the map. I've been there, and I was there 20 years ago, and it wasn't as bad. But basically, there are checkpoints everywhere. The IDF.
Ted, be careful. You're going to get de-Americaned.
Could be. But I thank God I have my frog citizenship, so I'll be okay.
Well, so last thing we'll say on the colorectal thing is, like, look, someone like me, right? The doctor said that he thinks it's better that I'm not one of these crazy diet like fanatics, and not an over like, I don't overexert in like exercise. He actually said he believes, the cleaner your diet, and I don't mean like those vegan soy products and whatever. He's like, eat normal,
It's the Michael Pollan
eat
thing.
Meat.
Eat real food, right?
Eat real food, eat normal food, and do some
I
exercise.
can't believe it's not butter. Eat real butter.
Right.
Don't eat real sugar if you have to have sugar. Don't no
right.
artificial sweeteners.
That's what
no
my doctor
Splenda.
thought.
Yeah, don't.
That's what my doctor thought. And he says, just and be kind to your body, get some exercise, get some cardio, but do something low impact. Keep yourself moving, stay thin, and just do what nature intended. Like, don't do these things outside of like the natural way of your body, the natural way of eating. He's like, that's it. He's like, I'm seeing young people younger than you, because obviously I'm in my mid 40s. He's like, I'm seeing patients. He's like, I've seen patients that are like 30 years old that are obese. Their arteries look like shit. And
it's sad. I mean, you look, you can see a lot of people who are like in their 20s now. You and I are supposed to be looking back at them at their hot, like lithe bodies.
I'm supposed to be looking at a 25-year-old girl and going, oh, she looks amazing in that mini skirt,
a 25-year-old dude. And some of them look great, but not a lot of them. A lot of them are slobs, and it's not about weight necessarily. It's about being like really.
It's the American diet.
They don't fucking move. They eat like shit.
It's the American diet.
Yeah, they're on
but Ted, I wonder.
Devices all the time.
I haven't looked, but I will now that it's come to mind. I wonder if the incidence rate of sub 50 colorectal cancer is also on the rise in other westernized states or Eastern countries,
Manila,
like China.
We've got to move on to the autistic
I wonder.
mice. That's you. Read it away.
Oh, that's me. So a new study published in the journal Cells, great name, provides evidence that maternal obesity, speaking of obesity, prior to pregnancy rather than during, may influence the development of autism-like traits in offspring. Researchers found that male mice born from obese egg donors showed altered social behaviors and repetitive grooming patterns, even when gestated and raised by healthy mothers. These changes were associated with shifts in brain gene activity and epigenetic modifications, suggesting that a mother's health before conception can shape her child's neurodevelopment in lasting ways. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by difficulties with social interaction and communication, along with restricted or repetitive behaviors. It affects now 1 in 36 children here in the US and is diagnosed more often in boys than in girls. While there is a strong genetic component to ASD, most individuals do not carry known high-impact mutations. This led researchers to explore how environmental and epigenetic factors that influence gene expression without altering DNA sequences might contribute to its development, especially during early stages of life. Previous studies have suggested that maternal obesity is associated with a higher risk of ASD in children. However, it has remained unclear whether this link is driven by conditions present before conception, during pregnancy, or both. Researchers were also unsure how these environmental exposures might influence the brain's development at a molecular level. The new study, led by University of Hawaii professors Alika Maunakea and Monica Ward, aimed to address this uncertainty by using a mouse model that could separate the effects of maternal health before and during pregnancy. Quote, "We were concerned about what is driving the worldwide increased rates of ASD and knew from prior epidemiologic studies in humans that maternal obesity leads to an increased risk of children with autism by 50 to 60%. It is not the only risk factor, but one of many. But whether maternal obesity before or during pregnancy introduced that risk was not known. Autism is one area where we know both genetics and environment plays a role." I had to mute Ted. He types too loud. But the timing of environmental influences is still a mystery. One clear takeaway is that a mother's health before pregnancy matters, not just during pregnancy, says the two researchers at the University of Hawaii. The months leading up to conception may be a sensitive time for setting the stage for a child's brain development. That doesn't mean every child born to a mother with obesity will have autism, far from it. But it does mean that taking steps to improve overall health before pregnancy, such as good nutrition, regular activity, and managing conditions like diabetes, could have benefits beyond what we previously appreciated. So there's that. So Ted, I'm an older mother. I had fears that my kid would, be at risk of autism or Down syndrome or whatever, because I was close to 40 when I had my kid. But again, because I'm generally overall fairly fit, I guess maybe that could be, as this study says, it reduced my son's risk of being born autistic. I'm thin.
You're also not a mouse. But yeah, and well, that could well be, right? I mean, that's super interesting. We're going to need more studies here. But I thought that was a fascinating, study and well worth getting into. But let's go ahead and get to the Democrats.
Well, they also did say, Ted, that this is a study also that they conducted with humans. I guess probably a survey was the incidence rate of ASD in obese human moms.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now they're studying the brains of the mice that they took eggs from a fat mouse, right? Or like maybe the embryo or whatever of a fat mouse, and put it in a healthy thin mouse.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So that's and then they're trying to study.
That's why they wanted to make sure
brains.
it was a genetic issue, not
a genetic component. So that's really interesting. But yeah, nobody knows anything about autism still. So well, there you go.
Yeah, well, we just know that there seems to be a lot more of it. But there's the raging controversy, about, for example, in the Vaxxer thing, about whether that's those numbers are actually just being more widely reported than before.
Well, they've also expanded how you define spectrum disorder in the DSM-5. So, there's a range of things, like more people calling, saying, well, that's autistic. Everything is autistic now. So
right.
Is anybody autistic if everybody is autistic? So.
Ooh, you're breaking my mind. Okay, the Democratic Party, which is autistic, is hemorrhaging voters long before they even go to the polls. Out of 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single one between 2020 and 2024, and by a lot. The 4-year swing toward Republicans adds up to 4.5 million voters, a deep political hole that could take years for Democrats to climb out of, assuming they ever can, or that it doesn't get deeper. The stampede away from the Democratic Party is occurring in battleground states, the bluest states, and the reddest states, according to a New York Times voter data analysis by it just come out today, actually. The analysis used voter registration data compiled by L2, which is a nonpartisan data firm. Very few measurements reflect the luster of a political party's brand more clearly than the choice by voters to identify with it through their voter registration, whether they register on a clipboard at the supermarket or at the DMV or in the comfort of their own home online. And fewer Americans are choosing to be Democrats. In fact, for the first time since 2018, more new voters nationwide chose to be Republicans than Democrats last year. Manila, it's been a long time since 2004 when a book called The New Emerging Democratic Majority came out that basically predicted the Republican Party would soon become completely obsolete and not able to win any elections whatsoever.
Like extinct.
Extinct. All told, like the Whigs, Democrats lost about 2.1 million registered voters between 2020 and 2024 in those 30 states, along with D.C., that allow people to register with a party. In the other 20 states, voters don't register with a party. Republicans gained 2.4 million, so net gain for the Republicans, 4.5. There's still more Democrats registered nationwide than Republicans, partly because of big blue states like California, which do allow people to register by party, while big red states like Texas don't. But the trajectory is troublesome for Democrats, to say the least, and they're trying to argue about what to do about it. Democrats went from a nearly 11% point edge over Republicans on Election Day 2020 in places with partisan registration to just a 6-point edge in 2024. That's a catastrophic plunge in just a very short time. That swing helps to explain Trump's success last year when he won the popular vote for the first time. swept the swing states, and of course won the White House. I don't want to say the death cycle of the Democratic Party, but there seems to be no end to this, said Michael Pruser, who tracks voter registration closely as the director of data science for Decision Desk HQ, an election analysis site. There's no silver lining or cavalry coming across the hill. This is month after month, year after year. The shifts also previewed Democratic weakness in 2024. The party saw some of its steepest declines in registration among dudes and younger voters, and those are two constituencies that swung sharply toward Trump. All four major presidential battleground states, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, showed significant Democratic erosion. In North Carolina, Republicans erased 95% of the registration advantage that Democrats had back in 2020. Democrats suffered the steepest percentage point plunge of any state, but West Virginia between 2020 and 2024, the share of voters choosing to register with either party went down after the state adopted an automatic voter registration system, but the Democratic decline allows Republicans to suppress Democrats earlier this year. For many years, more and more voters have been registering as independents or unaffiliated, sapping both parties' roles. But that growth has come at the expense mostly of Democrats. Top Democratic strategists say the party's nationwide registration decline is a hidden in plain sight crisis that needs to be reversed before 2028. In 2018, Democrats were 34% of new voter registrations. Republicans were 20%, so 34 to 20. By 2024, Republicans had overtaken Democrats completely among new registrants. So from 34 to 20 to a tie. In 6 years, the GOP share rose by 9%, Democratic share dropped by 8%. Democrats just don't know what to do about it. For years, they've relied on nonprofits who solicit donations from people whose identities they need not disclose. So they go out and register Black, Latino, and younger voters, sort of assuming that they're more likely to be Democratic. However, Trump, of course, proved that that's not really necessarily true by winning with working class non-white voters. You can't just register a young Latino or a young Black voter and assume that they're going to know it's Democrats that have the best policies, Ms. Cardona said. So a lot to unpack here, Manila. I think
before you start on your opinion on that, do we have any ads that we have to get to?
Check. No ads.
We have to check.
We are adless. Okay. Oh, actually, I'm lying. We do have an ad. Let's see which one I'm going to choose.
Ted's running Rumble Studio, by the way.
I am. I know.
Instead of producer Robbie.
Yes. So anything retarded that happens is
we're learning.
My fault here.
We're learning.
Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Okay.
We got to make sure the QR codes or whatever is there.
Is over. The rivalries are real, and the road to the championship begins August 23rd. Westwood One Sports brings you every electrifying moment of NCAA football from the first snap to the final whistle. Top teams, big plays, unforgettable Saturdays. Don't miss a second of the action. Listen to NCAA football on Rumble.com, the Westwood One Sports app, on WestwoodOneSports.com, via Westwood One station streams, or by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports. If it's sports, it's on Westwood One. Okay, Manila. So that's done. Let's talk about the Democrats. I mean, I think that the problem here is, so when I was a kid, my mom was explaining to me the difference between the two parties. And it was pretty simple, right? This was like Nixon was president. It was Nixon versus McGovern. It was 1972. And my mom said, well, the Democrats are the party of Joe and Jane Sixpack, the average person, the working class person. And the Republicans are the party of big business. And that's how things had been pretty much since the 1920s. And like that's, it had been different before that. So now, but now it's not the Democratic Party isn't an ideological party anymore. And in fact, I don't think the Republican Party is an ideological party either. The parties are teams now. So you're loyal to your team. And if your team trades away your best player, you're still loyal to your team. But team loyalty is different from ideological loyalty. So if I'm loyal, like I'm a loyal socialist / communist Marxist, right? So I'm for the dictatorship of the proletariat and swimming in the blood of the capitalists, no matter what, whether that's popular or not. I'm for it, as 1% of the population or 40% of the population. I'm for it after the revolution. I'm for it thick or thin. But, people who are loyal to, like, say, the Yankees, they're only loyal to the Yankees if the Yankees are always winning. If the Yankees are not winning, it's not really cool to wear the hat. It's not really so much fun to go to the game, and the bleachers empty out, and the prices go down, and they don't make as much money, and they go into a death spiral, right? I mean, a sports team.
I don't think
loses,
that's here, though.
Losing begets losing, and I think winning begets winning.
Well, the Mets people that are diehard Mets fans are still Mets fans.
But let me tell you, Mets sales they don't fill the stadium the same way when they're not doing well. So when they're really the Amazons, right, they do better. So so that's what's going on here. It's like, I think it's cool to be Republican. The Republicans are winning. They have the flags.
You think that's what it is?
Trump. Yeah, no. It's like liberal media is
No,
dying.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I disagree.
think
Me and Robbie both disagree. I don't know if it's the same reason. I personally just think that it's Occam's razor. It's that the Democrats that I knew as a kid in the 80s, my dad was an SEIU member. They were all Democrats. That's what the party used to stand for. It used to stand for the working class, and that's how I grew up. And it's completely unrecognizable now from the 80s to what they are now. Now they're like this party of identity politics. They're harping on elite stuff. The Clintons brought with them. They brought the whole corporatism into the party, and the party have abandoned like little working class kids like me.
How in any way, Manila, is that a conflict with what I just said? I mean, they haven't stuck to their ideology.
No, I agree with that, but
it's team blue versus team red.
No, that part
it's worse than that.
Most people,
but I think young people aren't going to them.
If you talk to most liberal Democrats, 40 years ago, they would have been proud of the fact that the Democratic Party was more or less anti-war. Now the Democratic Party is bloodthirsty.
That's right.
And starting wars all over the place, but they're still Democrats.
But you're comparing it to the Republicans, saying that the kids think now it's cool to be a Republican. I don't think that's what that is. I mean, I think it's just that the Democrats have abandoned everything that they were known for, and people nowadays, the young kids. The young kids are all about authenticity.
Fiscal conservatives.
That's what they want. Authenticity.
America first. None of that's true.
Here's the difference. The Democratic Party has been going out of its way to tell men that it hates them. That's
we're only half the population, Robbie.
I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, just listen to what I'm saying here for a second. Now, politically, do I think this is going to make a difference? No, because both political parties are exactly the same. Nothing's going to change. But as far as the roles of the Democratic Party goes, if you go and if you tell men, if you like women, then you're sexist. If you're not a butt pirate, there's something wrong with you. If you have a problem with a bearded dude going into your daughter's bathroom, there's a problem with you. And then just slam it down on toxic masculinity. Speaking of which, I have another training I have to go to next week because I got reported again from.
Are you kidding? You have to go again?
You need more sensitivity training.
I do.
Clockwork Orange.
I agree, and but that's why. I mean, you have a political party that's going out of your way to tell you that it hates you. Just believe them. If they said they hate you, they probably hate you. And then
they tell progressives, right? Like they tell progressives, we don't need you. We'll get the crossover Republicans. We don't need you.
Here's the other
Hillary
thing.
Clinton was like, I will win without you. And all the progressives said, all right, you guys, you go be you. And like, go with God, inshallah. And then she loses. She's like, why did you vote for me? Like,
you hate women.
You said
you must hate women.
You said you didn't need us. We listened to you.
No, look.
Respectful. What did you want us to do? Voters stalk you?
The Gen Zs, you guys are forgetting, the Gen Zs came of age during this whole era of lockdowns, and the young Gen Zs are the COVID young adults. They hated those lockdowns. They hated those authoritarian measures. These were all happening under the Biden watch. They hated the idea of being forced vaxxed. The young kids love the idea of like taking health to the next level, like health maxing everything. They are second guessing and disbelieving what the CDC says. And this is all under the Biden years. So the younger kids got their first dose of politics when they were, like juniors and seniors in high school, college freshmen or whatever. And they realized, oh, this is how politics can impact my daily life. I can't even go out to a bar with my friends. So a lot of these kids have flipped the other way, and they probably are going to the Republicans because of that, as a revolt against the Democratic Party. But also the Republican Party smartly have embraced the whole natural eating, the whole like holistic health stuff.
And
That used to be
hilarious
a
'cause they
Democrat thing.
But you're confirming my point there too. Like you're kind of that. Look, eating healthy was a crunchy West Coast thing.
Me.
Yeah, it was you. It was
Me.
y'all on the Pacific.
But it was
Coast.
bigger than that. Trump
And
ran.
now we're acting like, oh, we've all the MAGA people, Naha. We've always been into this. No, but that's great. I mean, I'll
The
take
last
my
4
healthy
years,
eating
they were
wherever
like,
I can
take
get
this
it.
vaccine.
Although
Don't go
RFK,
see grandma. Like, you're
know,
gonna
bigger-
kill
it's only-
grandma.
It's only been
But it's
7
bigger than
months,
that.
But how come RFK is not doing anything?
Well, it's bigger than that because no. To your point, Manila. No, you have this generation kind of coming of age. My kids, the Zoomers, they're Thomas can be able to vote for the first time in the next presidential election, and he's thrilled about it. And it's just like, who are you going to vote for?
You haven't explained to him that the whole system's rigged, have you?
It doesn't matter.
No, never. I mean, no, Ted. I mean, it's not like you met my kids, and
Yeah.
But I mean, the Zoomers and the Xers and Zers and whoever else, what they've realized is that Trump promised to bring back jobs, make it where you can actually afford this thing called a house, be able to live someplace beside your mother's basement, restore economic prosperity to the country, and he has completely abandoned that campaign promise. So now what's happening is that more and more people, they're going to the actual real MAGA faction. That's I don't know if y'all saw this or not, but no, a lot of the big influencers on X right now have a complete meltdown because Megyn Kelly had Marjorie Taylor Greene on, of all people. Who the hell would have thought that this hoe bag from Georgia would be a standard bearer for America First?
For real MAGA?
Yeah.
Now she's changed it, by the way. You notice it's now for MTG, she's calling it America Only.
Yeah, well, that's what it should be. That's what it should be. And so what you're saying is that all these young people who are starting to rally behind the likes of Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey and these other people, I think we're going to see a political revolt, the likes that neither political party sees in the next 2 to 4 years. And this could be carried on the backs of the Zoomers and the Xers who have nothing but crap from this economy. And I think
Ron Paul,
that's
2008, baby.
From your lips to from Robbie's lips to God's ears.
But where else are you going to go? They can't go to the Democrats because Democrats said they hate you.
They can't go.
So this article is specific to like the Democratic Party, but by default, this particular article is by default assuming it's going the other way to the Republicans, and I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong.
This is not a binary choice.
I think the third party is rising, and they're missing that.
A loss for the Democrats is not a win for the Republicans.
That's right.
That's what people are missing.
The third party groups, they are completely missing this because this is from who? What article? This is from the New York Times. So of course they're making this a binary choice, and that's not true. The New York Times keeps missing the mark on this, the rise of the third party. And speaking of which, by the way, Elon Musk said he was launching his new party, right? And apparently he's pumping the brakes on it because he's got to focus on his, like Tesla and
I think what's going to happen. I think you're going to see a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, and I think you're going to see it on the local election level. I think you're going to see it on the state legislatures. I think you're going to see it especially on the school boards, and I think that's where you're going to have it. Because if you're going to have this kind of backlash, Trump has already wounded the establishment in a way that I don't think he expected to back in 2016, and he hasn't been able to solve that damage. The fact that they have an active rebellion right now in the Republican Party shows that. The Democratic Party is a monolith. The Republican Party is literally eating itself. So
Well,
you have the
let me
you have
just
the Mark
push back on
Levin.
that. The Democratic Party is not monolithic among the voters, but the leadership is certainly monolithic.
But they
Yeah.
don't care about the voters who have super delegates. I mean, if you're it doesn't matter who votes, Ted. You know this. It matters who counts the votes.
Right, that's true.
And so, as those Democratic voters keep getting screwed over, hello, Bernie Bros, where are you going to go? Welcome to the Republican Party.
Well,
Welcome to the America
the
First
Bernie
Party.
Bros did answer that question in 2016 and in 2024. 2020 was an outlier.
Yeah.
Everyone was spooked because of COVID and all that. But like, that's not, the progressives dipped by the millions.
Of course.
I mean, by some count, between 10 and 12 million progressives did not turn up for Kamala.
Do you see a point, Ted, ever where the Democratic Party could ever earn your vote versus a Republican? Like, say, for example, if America First Thomas Massey style person managed to run Mondani style in New York, say, pox on both your houses, I hate you both. Could you vote for that guy whose whole platform is nothing else than burn it down?
Well, I would need to know that. See, the problem with Republicans is that they don't even pretend to care about individuals. They don't care if you get sick. They don't care if you can't pay your rent. They don't care if you lose your job. They don't want any social guarantees.
Well, neither do Democrats. But here's
if I could
Mondani.
find a Republican who wasn't like that and was, like you said, burn it down, sure, I would do it. But that's a big if, because it just doesn't happen. It's part of their religion that they're not allowed to care about people.
But you got to remember, though, that's the difference between your corporate Republican and what you're seeing on the grassroots of the populist right.
Well, I know, but for example, I don't have this answer, but how does MTG feel about like Luigi and and healthcare? I mean, like, I don't know the answer. I
don't know, but I'll tell you what. If I lived in New York, if I was able to get the funding, I would 100% run. I would go Mondani style. My landlord, y'all both know, my landlord completely, totally, utterly fucked me, and it was a great. It was not a very pleasant experience. So I have no problem at all with running on that platform.
I hate my landlord so much.
Just running on that platform, saying, "I want to break you."
After the Chinese Revolution, you couldn't be a landlord or even a member of the landlord class, meaning that like you had relatives who were landlords or property owners before the revolution.
Relatives.
Otherwise,
Okay.
you would be shunned and ostracized and beaten up. And I look back at that and I'm like, I understand that now. I kind of think that like there's nothing worse than a landlord.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Not me. I was a great landlord.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see, and I'll go away because I know we're going over. I think we're going to see a colossal rebellion, and I don't think it's going to happen with the Democrats. It's going to happen with the Republicans. The Republicans are anti-war at this point. I'm not talking about the party. I'm talking about the grassroots. I'm talking about the actual the MAGA people, the MAGA faction, the Make America First people. Anti-war, anti-interventionist. What's in it for us? Why are we doing this? This is insane. And the only place that you can go if you have those kinds of questions is the Republican Party right now. There's nowhere else for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Ray over in the Rumble room says that the secretaries of state in all 50 states, that they basically make it an effort to keep other parties off, and that's largely true.
It's impossible to get another party off.
They make it incredibly hard to have other options beyond the local state ballot for anything. It could be freaking dog catcher. They make it really hard for people to get on there if you're not from one of the approved parties. So, like I said before, you got to strip it all down and start over. Just the whole system.
It's easier to hijack a plane than it is to build one.
Let's go.
All right, time to wrap. All right, thanks, Robbie. All right, that's going to do it for us for this hump day. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like and the follow button, the subscribe, all of that, so you can help our little show.
The donate.
Share our content.
You can donate.
You can do that. And Putin bot You can follow his channel as well on Rumble. If you can, even if you're not into gaming, it's very helpful to just show up for the numbers to help little Putin bot gaming
And
get
Manila,
some
you
love.
can't see it on the StreamYard, but I've been putting up the reader comments up on screen.
Oh, I have
through
not.
Rumble
Yeah, I have
Studio.
not been
So
seeing.
that's fun. So if you have a good comment, we'll put it up.
Very good. And still Fridays, Ted, we keep telling you guys, if you have serious questions, send it to us right
Fire
there.
away.
Email.
TMI show question.
One question. TMI show question at Yahoo. Send that to us and we'll answer. We try to do the mailbag on Fridays, but like you guys pelt us with questions during the show, which is fine too. But if you want something that's like a long thought out thing, we will incorporate it into the show on Fridays if you email us
That's true.
before Friday morning. So we'll incorporate it into the show. We'll talk about it. So
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a happy hump day. Go have a hump. Have a day of it. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks, everybody. Adios, amigos.
Bye, Manila. Bye.
Bye.